Hi, I'm Deborah Dahab, your expat coach and intercultural psychologist. Today, I'm going to talk about a tool that I use with my clients and in my own life that really helped me to deal with uncertainty and with making decisions and basically managing the stress of life in a foreign country and also life in general. So I hope you like this video. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel and I will get straight to it. So the concept I want to share with you today is called the circles of control. So this concept was conceived and was thought about by Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I highly recommend this read if you're inclined to do so. It's not a new book, but I think the concepts there are really relevant, and this is one of them. And I'm going to explain the concept, and I'm also going to explain how I use it in my life and how I help clients use it in their lives. I will include a link in the description to the book if you would like more information regarding the book. So basically the concept says that there are 3 types of things in our life. The first type are the things that we don't control. The second type are the things that we influence. We don't control them, but we have some influence over them. And the third type is the things that we control. So I'm going to give you an example to illustrate how this can be applied in our life. And then I'm going to give you an example of how this can be applied in our expat life. Okay? This can be applied in anything in your life, to be honest. I use this a lot. And it really is a way to save energy in the sense that you don't waste time or energy with things that don't matter. And I'll explain to you just in a minute how that works. So basically, these 3 types of things that we don't control, that we have some influence over, and that we control. So let me give you like a mundane example. The weather. We don't control the weather, not that I know of. So if it's cold, if it's raining, if it's hot, we don't control it. We can influence somewhat the temperature in the place we're in. We can turn on an air conditioning, we can turn on the heater if that's the case, but we can't control the temperature because, let's say, for example, there's some kind of crack in the window. So that the temperature that you want might not be possible because of, I don't know, the thickness of the walls or the humidity in the house or whatever. Or even if you are in a place where other people are as well and they don't feel as cold as you do and you can influence the temperature but you can't control it. You get the gist of it. And then there are things that you do control in this scenario. For example, the clothing you put on your body. So if you're cold, you will put on an extra sweater, you'll put on a scarf, you'll put on gloves, you name it. So basically, the concept is if you don't control it, don't sweat about it because there's nothing you can do about it. Focus on the things that you do control, and to some extent on the things that you can influence. So now I'm going to give you an example of something very much in tune with our expat life. So as expats, we deal with bureaucracy a lot, right? When you go to a new country, when you immigrate to a new country, there are several steps sometimes of paperwork and red tape that you have to go through depending on your original passport or the visa that you need or whatever. This, if you're in a corporate context, so if you're going with a company, that might be mitigated by the fact that the company might take care of that for you. But in any other case, if you're self-initiated immigrant, as we say, which is basically expats or people who move to another country to work, for example, as a freelancer, or to open a business, or to take a break, or sometimes to be a student and the institution that you're going to study with doesn't have that bureaucratic support, you will go through some red tape. Okay, so how do we apply these three types of things to our expat life, taking the bureaucracy as an example? So let's say that look at the things that you don't control. Do you control the processes? Do you control what type of paperwork is needed, is required? You don't, right? Those are the rules of the country that is receiving you. Do you control the timings? No, you don't. So there's no reason to stress about these things. If you want to immigrate and you want to get through it, you need to get things done. You don't control it. What can you influence? For example, you can influence how people will treat you in this bureaucratic process if you approach it with an open mind, with a smile on your face, with a mindset of solution-based approach as opposed to problem-based approach. So you can influence the way things turn out by your mindset, by being proactive in certain instances, for example. What can you control in this situation? Well, you can control, for example, having all your ducks in a row, having all your paperwork done when you do have to present them, so nothing's missing. So the process that you don't control can go smoother because what you do control, you're doing. I hope that makes sense. What can you control also? You can control your breath. You can control your stress and anxiety by breathing, by being positive. And I know that sometimes it's hard. We're overwhelmed and we're extremely feeling vulnerable because sometimes we don't know the language, we don't know how things are done. So even in this context, you can control your breath. You can control how are you going to approach this. You can control asking for help when you need it. You can control getting help from, for example, an agency that sometimes helps people with bureaucracy, from a friend, from a member of a Facebook group who has been through that, from an expat coach who can help you work the mindset, okay? These are the things you can control. So when you take a look at these three aspects, it's really important to focus your attention and your energy on the things that you actually control. Because things you don't control, really, what can you do? You're just wasting your energy, right? So this framework really helps me still to approach problems. When I start getting stressed about, things, even in the uncertainty of our lives today, is what can you control? What can you influence? And what don't you control? And once you have that concept straight, and once you understand the situation you're in, it's a lot easier to navigate because you approach things in a less emotional way, not denying emotion, but in a less emotional way, in a more pragmatic way, in a more solution-based way, if you get what I mean. So you can apply this to, for example, the finances of moving. So many people stress about the exchange rates that fluctuate, or the stock market and your savings are going to lose value or gain value or whatever. You don't control that. What do you control? You control your spending. You control how you approach your planning. You control getting help from a financial advisor. You control other things. So instead of stressing about the exchange rate that is not favorable right now, focus on what you do control. And this concept will empower you. And I use this a lot with clients, and it really helps because you suddenly gain conscious of things that you you didn't control, but in the end, you can find a way to influence and control things, even if it's just the attitude, which is a lot, right? So I hope this concept helped you. And there's just one last thing that I want to add, is that there was a comment on a video of mine about how people perceive you as a foreigner. And you don't control that. You don't control what other people think of you. So if you're stressing about how the foreigners are perceiving you, think about this. Do you control that? Are you influencing that in any way? Is your attitude maybe influencing that? Remember the example from the smile that I gave previously? And what do you control? What do you control in your relationship with the people in the host country? Think about that and take action in whatever you think you can control. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.